Career Tech education. It's not just about farm work and fancy foods. It's about life. It's about an education that empowers students, provides opportunities, and develops career skills that could last a lifetime. Fresno ROP has made this their mission, offering over 148 courses to high school students and adults for 47 years. Teachers work with dedicated business and advisory committees to keep learning relevant in an industry that changes every day. Perhaps no one knew this better than William F. Noli. Bill Noli became the first principal of Clovis West High School and went on to serve as Deputy Superintendent for the Fresno County Office of Education, where he was an avid supporter of Fresno ROP. Tonight, Fresno ROP honors 6 outstanding advisory board members who have each made a difference in career tech education and the lives of many students. These individuals have been chosen as this year's winners of the 2021 William F. Noli Outstanding Service Award. Chief John Banaski and Battalion Chief Tony Gomes. Nurse Practitioner Lois Ewert. Brian Maiorino of Maiorino Farms. Donald Howe, Automotive Guru and Professor at COS. And Officer Jesus Martinez of the Madera County Department of Corrections. Chief John Banaski and Battalion Chief Tony Gomes of the Clovis City Fire Department have been advisors of the Clovis Unified Firefighting Technology Program for the past 5 years. Each has been a strong supporter of ROP career tech education and a critical force to the success of the CUSD Fire Tech program.
Chief Banaski and BC Gomes have impacted the ROP program immensely. They've been individuals that haven't been afraid to think outside the box, think creatively, not put limits on what we can accomplish. And it's been nice. It's been very refreshing to work like that.
The Clovis Fire Department's had an outstanding relationship with Clovis Unified School District and specifically their ROP programs. When one of our employees, Randy Frenprock, retired from our organization, he went over to the fire technology program and really elevated it to the next level. He worked on the partnership between our agency and the school district, the ability to get the proper equipment, and just kind of build and show students where they could go in a career in the fire service. One of the main things we look for when we hire people are people that want to be part of the team. Service with pride is our motto. What we're looking for is people who want to help others, have pride in themselves, pride in their community, that are honest, good morals, and really just want to help others and do a fantastic job.
Over the past few years, the Clovis Fire Department and the Clovis Unified School District collaborated on a design-build project that involved a 3-story training tower for the CUSD Fire Tech program. This project serves as a great example of what can be accomplished through collaboration between industry partners and CTE.
This is a series of shipping containers that we modeled after a training tower project that we had in mind. We're going to keep this training tower clean, and by that what I mean we're not going to burn in it. There's be no live fire in this particular training prop. We don't want to create a carcinogen hazard for the students. This is an above ground workspace here. You'll see that some of these areas are gated, like here. That allows for access for either patient rescues, ladder work up here. If you'll look here, see there's a door to nowhere there. That's a rappel station.
So the importance of the training tower was multifaceted in the fact that the needs for the ROP program that touch the foundational basis of what's required of learning the job of firefighter, the 3-story prop is able to accomplish that. So it allows for a space for the students to be able to throw ladders, utilize apparatus, pull hose, and learn those basic skills. So because the prop was in such high need, by collaborating both of our organizations together, we were able to expand it to what we thought would be just a 1 or 2-story prop to what you see behind us, to a large 3-story prop, which actually fits both of our organizations probably more than what we need. But what's more beneficial is that we're able to take the education of the students and the training of our local firefighters to a whole nother level, which I think when the end result comes to fruition for the students themselves, when they leave the RP program and get into the colleges or find themselves in a position where they go into an academy and a professional organization, they'll have the basis to build on of moving forward.
Clovis Fire Department provided property at their training center along with engineering and inspection services and applied over $65,000 in additional funds matching the district's financial contribution in order to complete the project. The training tower is a one-of-a-kind in the state of California for ROP firefighting technology programs and offers students the opportunity to experience real-world challenges and training scenarios routinely faced by firefighters in a safe and controlled manner.
The support was overwhelming, and so we were able to take our idea that we thought we could kind of scratch the surface on. We were able to actually push it all the way to the prop that you see behind me, which we lent it up to a 3-story prop, which gave us a multitude of options, from everything from an entry-level firefighter that would be utilized through the ROP program, throwing ladders, pulling hose, to the more advanced skills that would be for a professional firefighter, which would be more of the hose pulling, drills and things like that that we'd utilize our apparatus for, and our USAR team and even our Clovis PD officers that come out here and utilize this prop for their SWAT team trainings.
By having this partnership with Clovis Unified, it enables them to come and see what the skills are that we require people to have when being in the fire service. They get to learn about the fire service, and it basically gives them opportunities at a young age to have something to achieve or work for in the future.
Due to Chief Banaski and BC Gomes, students who graduate from the CUSD Fire Tech program are better prepared mentally, physically, and academically to begin their fire service careers. Chief John Banaski and Battalion Chief Tony Gomes, congratulations.
On behalf of myself, Fire Chief Banaski, and the Clovis Fire Department, we would like to thank you for nominating us and selecting us for the William F. Noli Award. We appreciate it, and thank you.
For more than a decade, Lois Ewart of the Fresno County Mobile Health Unit has served on the ROP Health Institute Advisory Board at Washington Union High School and has created endless opportunities for students to become actively engaged within the health industry.
Lois has advised my program for the last 7 years that I've been working with her. So Lois is extremely humble. She probably won't share, everything that she's done for our program and for our students. She's very humble when it comes to that. She's written grant letters for us. We just recently received a facility grant to build a brand new facility for our program. She's run all of our vaccinations and TB testing for our students. All of our students need to have both of those to volunteer and work at Community Regional Medical Center. And each year she and her staff will come in through the course of several weeks. We'll do the vaccinations and the TB testing. And then she sends me all that information so that I can then forward that to CRMC.
2 times a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, we would go after lunch to the hospital and we would do about 2 hours of volunteer. Well, I worked in the ICU, others worked in the OR, some people worked in the ER, some people were able to go on the bottom floor and help patients register or sign out.
And one of the greatest compliments you'll ever hear is that you helped inspire someone to follow their dreams, find their passion.
Honestly, doing the hospital work, it really made me realize that I want to work in hospital setting. If there's one thing that in the ICU, it's not just rooms with patients and people bring them food every day. And I realized it's really a team effort. It's not just general doctors who work at the hospital or surgeons. It's the hospital requires entire teams of doctors, and I learned that. So that just really made me realize I want to go into hospital work.
Extremely intelligent individual. She has a strong passion for community health and working with underserved populations, trying to get that equality that we need in healthcare throughout Fresno County. She's allowed for students to shadow on the mobile health unit. She's always offered the mobile health unit and her staff for tours. So on a Saturday when, they should be at home resting and being with their families, they'll send over that mobile health unit and she'll take the students on tours of the facility. She's given tons of resources and industry partners for our program. And at the end of the year, on top of everything, her and her staff will always bring our graduating seniors a gift, and with a nice little note.
She's really kind. I feel like most people would be scared to ask health workers questions, but if you were to talk to her, she's really kind, she's patient. So if you ask a funny question, she'll laugh, but she won't judge. she'll just reply in a straightforward manner.
She's an amazing individual. I mean, you can come to her and propose like a program that maybe you're thinking about developing, and she's the one that will think outside the box and come up with ideas and ways to tackle the problem.
It was 2 years after high school that I started my program, and so I graduated in my early 20s. And when I graduated, I worked a couple years, but then I went to Central America as just an RN. I went to work in a very rural jungle setting in Honduras, and I worked and lived there for about 3 years. Went into a work that I really didn't understand, but I was called on to do so many things. Deliver babies, suture. I had to diagnose and treat things that I really wasn't prepared to do through my RN program. So I came back to the United States to get more training and with the intent to go back, and I never did. But I did become a nurse practitioner because of that.
And how did Lois react to Mr. Pena's comment, "I cannot imagine a candidate more deserving of this honor"?
I'm really honored by that. But I have the most wonderful staff here. We all work together. I don't do this by myself. And it's not just our staff, it's not just our team. It's Fresno County Office of Ed, Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, our superintendent, the board, my direct supervisor. Without support, without being able, we would not be able to do what we do. I would not be able to do what I've done. We are all in this together. We're all about the kids. We're all about making sure that not just the job gets done. I would say that it is critical to our profession, nursing and healthcare. It's critical to mentor and teach the next generation. And I think that Fresno County Superintendent of Schools understands that. Anybody who is here understands that that's what we're about. And so I don't know what else to say. But thank you for sharing what Mr. Pena said. He is a fabulous teacher. He is wonderful. We love working with him.
Miss Lois Ewart, congratulations. Donald Howell has more than 25 years' experience in the automotive repair field and currently runs the automotive program at COS. And all this professional knowledge and his understanding of career tech education have made him a valuable asset to the automotive program at Riverdale High School.
When I first came to Riverdale to teach the automotive, this building was empty. I mean, you could stand anywhere in this shop and it was totally empty. And over the years, as we had these meetings, it was always a question, what do we need? How can we better teach students and help them learn? And obviously, we started by just brainstorming on tools, equipment, and on a year by year, when we have our advisory meetings, that is always the areas that we discuss. What tools and equipment do we need to teach the current skills that the auto industry is demanding from students, in this case, that are planning to go into the auto industry or the automotive diesel industry. So, and by that, we're looking at tools and equipment that are essential to make that happen.
Donald's experience in the industry as well as teaching have been instrumental in guiding the process for new tools and equipment and have provided valuable information about the newest trends that are essential to Riverdale's ROP automotive program and to the student learning process.
So this is an electric trainer on this side. So if you can see, it's lighting all over the place. So this is one of the areas that college instructors and people in the industry say, yeah, they can change brakes and shocks and tires all day long, But when it comes to electrical, this is an area where a lot of techs struggle with. That's where I got this training from, because we went on a field trip to his shop, and he has one of this, and I say, hey, Donald, what do you think if, we incorporate or we try to have a trainer for the program at the high school? And obviously, knowing how important it is, he said, absolutely. If you're able to, have your district buy it, I see a lot of the benefit, because that is a really important area in the auto industry. He has come in and he has done presentations. We have gone to his shop at COS, and he has done demonstrations for students. He's a person that is willing to help. When I told him, hey, Donald, we nominated you for the Noli award, and he's like, you know what, Mario, I really appreciate that gesture. But whether I get it or not, I just love helping you. I really enjoy being part of your program by being part of, the advisory committee, and anything that I can do to help your students to plan their post-secondary career, I'm more than happy to do that for you. And I think that alone is more important than having him to just come to the meetings.
So I have always had a passion for excellence, always had a passion for advancement of myself, and then led into the advancement of others. I found in myself, when I first started learning this industry, that I could also share it and pass it on to others. So that has become my passion through the last 20 plus years of actually helping others to understand. And I am so mind blown every time I step into a classroom and I start talking about a subject. And it's the same thing I talked about last year at the same time or whatever, right? But now all of a sudden I have a better understanding of it. And so the continuous improvement on myself is something that is just amazing for myself. And so if I can share a little bit of that, pass that on to my students, other instructor students, other programs, get the high school students involved, get them engaged, get them impassioned into the industry or whatever they're learning to continue on. I tell students all the time, you can put a bunch of money into a toolbox. You can buy the greatest tools, but the best tool you can put in your toolbox is up here. It's the knowledge, and getting the knowledge and then putting it into practice is going to be the area that it will suit you the best or will serve you best. Learning the basics is going to help them. It's going to get an established understanding of the automobile. And I run into that here at the college level as well. They need a foundation. But we could have students who don't need a foundation, who don't actually need to know how the four-stroke cycle operates. They might just need to know how electricity works a little more. And then they are learning more engineering on another part of the campus. And they just work with the automotive electrical, and they got to know a little bit about the brakes, and they need to know a little bit about the suspension and steering. And then they can apply that to the electric car or to the, whatever kind of car or technology they're working towards.
Donald is at the forefront of regulatory change in the industry and provides in-depth knowledge of the important skills students must learn to be successful in a post-secondary career in automotive repair. Mr. Donald Howell, congratulations. Since 1976, when the high school first opened its doors, Maiorino Farms' continuous and engaging support of the Firebaugh High School ROP Ag program has helped produce more than just agriculture. Their efforts and know-how have helped turn CTE students into knowledgeable and career-ready individuals. The patriarch, Jim Maiorino, was a firm believer in agriculture and hands-on learning. And today his legacy lives on through his son and current owner of Maiorino Farms, Brian Maiorino.
So 20 years ago, I started in Firebaugh, and I didn't know anybody in Firebaugh. And I got introduced to Brian and his dad, Jim. And I would go out there and have coffee in the middle of the afternoon. And to this day, I still don't understand why we drank coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a hot summer day. but you never said no to Annette and Jim's coffee when they asked you to sit down and have coffee. And so the stories go on and on around that table and around that cup of coffee. But one thing always stood out to me, and that was, a man is only as good as his word. And that statement was stated over and over, that you are only as good as what you say you're going to do or what you give your word that you're going to do. Instilling that in our students, it makes Brian who he is.
Maiorino Farms has been an active and vocal contributor of Agriculture Advisory, the CTE ROP committee, for over 3 decades. They've promoted the expansion of course offerings and helped with all events that support the Career Tech program. Brian's original design and construction of a custom trailer smoker over 20 feet long brings out hungry supporters of CTE from far and wide, and Brian can barbecue with the best of them.
So if you want a barbecue, regular barbecue, instead of smoke, we have pans that go in here, and these go up and down with charcoal. And then you can load them from the back if you need more. But I have a crank that you can adjust these.
Yeah, he just talks about a few kids here and there, but it doesn't matter if they have the Fireball jacket on or Chowchilla or Sierra. It doesn't matter. Anywhere in this valley, if there's a kid in need, he's been there for him. And when he talks about these little barbecues, he'll take those animals and then barbecue them for not just a small barbecue, but he'll invite 40 or 50 farmers over to his place. The value is in the work ethic. The value is in the life lessons that you're going to get from raising an animal. And that is just one of his primary passions in the field of agriculture. He has many others, but I'll tell you, he loves the show ring and what that can teach a young student.
Brian Maiorino advocates for career tech education and sees the future of agriculture and wants to ensure that students are prepared and ready to take on the challenge.
Mr. Maiorino has always been there with one thing in the bottom and in the deepest part of his heart, and that is our students. So everything that he does revolves around how he can help our students.
When my dad got involved in the early 80s, Faribault didn't have an ag department, and him and a group of farmers, my dad, John Diedrich, Tim O'Neill, Jim Diedrich, and Willoughby Howe, they felt that this school in this area needed an ag department, and they wanted a strong ag department. So they started pushing for one with the superintendent, and they finally convinced him that they needed an ag department. So they set up to build an ag department, and the Dietrich brothers, they hauled in all the dirt, they built the foundations. So they got the ag department built, and the superintendent, he was adamant about the quality of the facilities, and so we have very nice facilities. But it was always about the kids. My sister, my brother, they were involved in ag. All my kids were. I was. I've sat at I don't know how many fairs, and I see these kids go through there, and from big communities, and they'll go to the Fresno Fair, and they get it handed to them. I mean, it just, and we didn't allow that because I know how much these kids get into these animals, and I know what their break even is, and it just discourages them from the whole idea of ag, and it probably learning how to speak was what impressed me the most. Because I don't know how many kids I've seen come in as freshmen, they're scared to death. And then by the time they were seniors, they could stand up in front of 200 people and lead the whole meeting. The biggest challenges we face now are regulations that are still coming down the pipe, labor issues, and the environmental issues that we're dealing with, the water issues that we're dealing with. It's getting harder and harder. But there is a lot of opportunity in ag for young kids, because as the older farmers exit, someone's going to have to do this, and they're going to need, young kids to fill these places in management. I mean, there's a whole list of opportunities these kids can get into, and ag is a good field to get into. I mean, they can make a lot of money. They work outdoors. They have an amount of freedom that comes with the job, and it's a hard life, but it's a good career. I wouldn't try to discourage a kid from going into ag.
Mr. Brian Maiorino of Maiorino Farms, congratulations. Correctional Officer Jesus Martinez of the Madera County Department of Corrections has spent the past 3 years serving and educating students of the Madera Unified School District. Covering 4 high schools, Officer Martinez has given these students the opportunity to have experiences rarely offered in the program.
Our working relationship that we have with the Madera County Department of Corrections is just, it's next level. And for our program specifically, what he's brought, I mean, it's almost unheard of. He not only does he come and he guest speaks to our class, and you know, we get him for all 4 of our, you know, all 4 of our courses, you know. But what he does is he sets up like jail tours. So we've taken groups of, every year we've taken a group of about 30 students to the Madera County Department of Corrections. He puts on this full on, it's a full day of training. So it's anything covering from like handcuffing techniques with their transportation department or their transportation team. And they're in there with leg irons, shackles, belly chains, and you know, he puts all that stuff together to like something as simple as like command presence, communication, verbal judo, and then he puts on full-on training. Like he gets their CERT team together, their special response teams, and he allows our students to act as role players. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1. You know, they get their training in, and our students get to role play and kind of see the actual duties of that of a correctional officer. So it's just phenomenal, and it takes a lot of time.
Madera County Department of Corrections is one of the few corrections facilities in the state of California in which they hire at the age of 18. These ROP graduates of Madera Unified are already going through the hiring process, and Officer Martinez and the Madera County Department of Corrections have made this possible.
So when in our industry, it's you know, we're held to that higher standard, and he really does demonstrate that. He holds himself to a higher standard, and it's a reflection of his department. And he's a great role model for our students. He lives in the city of Madera, so I'm sure he runs into students, and he's kind of told me a few times, hey, I've seen, you know, I ran into a couple students at Walmart. They say hello, how you doing? He just has that approach, right? Like he can communicate with any student in the classroom, just sit down and talk with them as he's walking around. But like I said, he's a great role model. He talks a lot about his personal experiences and things that he's kind of overcame, and he brings that into the classroom. And you know, he shows them that, you know, anything's possible. He shares his aspirations. You know, he talks about promoting and how he wants to go about doing that. But he correlates it with school and education, how important that is.
Officer Martinez is a really nice person, and he overall looks very professional, and whenever he with students, he always gives advice to them. And even though he may look like he's not listening to any conversation, he's paying attention to every conversation that's going on, which is really funny, because if you say something like that's stereotypical, he just turns to look at you and answers, "Oh, we don't do that here." So it's just really surprising and catches you off guard.
He's very patient, and also he's very helpful towards the class. Every time, like, there's for example, I think it was during CSI class, and we were practicing how to handcuff, and he taught us how to do it correctly and not to injure ourselves, and be precautious.
He's very serious about his job. He dedicates all his time to his job. He's very serious about it, and it's like he's a great person because he still tends to have time for us at school.
He's responsible. He's all the above, all the pillars, the character pillars that we instill in our students from K through 6 through 12. He just demonstrates them.
Going back to my ROTC days, when I engage with the students, it's, you know, you can only learn so much from textbooks or watching videos. But when you get the students involved with active scenarios, you know, show them the equipment that we utilize, demonstrate it on them at times, they light up with excitement. You know, we've had them over to, at least once a year, I try to get the students over to our facility, you know, prior to COVID. And we'll actually put them through scenarios. We get them to talk with other officers. We go through experiences with them. And we basically let them play CO for the day. Very few students ever really know what it is to be a jail. You know, they think of corrections. Even when I tell people I'm a correctional officer, they automatically assume, oh, so you work for the state. No, I work for my community. I work for my county. You, as a CO, you basically learn by doing. You have to gain that experience. You have to build rapport with inmates. You have to be able to, you know, the hardest part I tell them is communication. I mean, the generations that are growing up now, they're all so attached to their cell phones. You know, there's almost very little to no in-person communication. And as a correctional officer, or public safety in general, you have to build those communication skills up because you're going to be dealing with people face to face. So between my work experience and just, you know, how I was raised, it's made me who I am today. Thankfully, I've never really had a one-on-one with an inmate because of how I talk with them. You know, going back to those communication skills. Same thing with the students. You know, I walk in there and I just let them know this is what corrections could potentially be. But this is how corrections is for me. And it all goes back to communication.
With Officer Martinez on hand, students have seen a guy give hundreds of hours of volunteer time. He has built a strong bond between his professional industry, schools, community, and students. Officer Jesus Martinez, congratulations.